Hi, this is Mantus. Hail Satan. Pox Show, starring me and by proxy Pox. We're streaming on the internet now, worldwide. So I'd like to do a big shout out to the Azores. I believe that's Spain. I believe that's owned by Spain. Also the Philippines, previously owned by Spain, but America took care of that. So you're welcome. I'd like to shout out to, let's just throw in South Africa. I don't know why. India, the southern part of India. Hi, billions of people. We're the Pox Show. If you own a TV and have a fairly middling internet speed connection, you can probably watch us. Bonjour, France. Je m'appelle Mantus. Je suis le host de Le Pox Show en votre télévision. Hola, el español mundo. Hablas español mundo. Soy Mantus. De el hosto de el Pox Show para tu televisión. Tag Deutschland. Ich bin Mantus. Auf dem Television. Heil Satan. Heil Pox. Sorry if German sounds too Nazi for you, but you guys invented it, so that's not on me. I'm gonna get so many death threats. Hey, we're introducing a new format for the show because we've been left high and dry by our spiritual leader, Pox. El Pox. So we're going to try something new. A lot of fucked up shit happened this week, and the shit is fucked up. Someone died on a low-budget movie set. That's fun. I blame capitalism.
As the cast and crew prepared to rehearse a scene in this building on the movie ranch set outside Santa Fe, the assistant director grabbed a prop gun. The gun was one of 3 firearms that had been placed on a cart. According to court records, an affidavit prepared by the sheriff's department, the assistant director believed it was a cold gun, meaning it was empty, and gave it to Baldwin saying it was cold. But it wasn't. When Baldwin fired, a projectile struck 42-year-old Helena Hutchins in the chest, killing her and wounding director Joel Souza in the shoulder. A crew member on Rust telling ABC News the issue of gun safety had been brought up by the camera crew and brushed off repeatedly by producers. In the past week, there were at least 2 accidental discharges of the prop gun on the set, according to the member of the camera crew, who said a list of safety and other concerns prompted almost the entire camera department to walk off the set just hours before the shooting.
I thought I was the one who was the most evil person, but like these people are like, they're really blowing me out of the water. What else happened? I think Jared Kushner is going to get $2 billion for helping MBS assassinate a reporter.
An explosive new report in The Intercept claims Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman boasted that Jared Kushner was, quote, in his pocket.
We studied everything that had been tried and that had failed, and he said, let's try to do it differently.
Behold the mighty voices of my vengeance, smash the stillness of the air and stand as monoliths of wrath upon a plain of writhing serpents.
This fucking asshole, look at his face. He sucks. Maybe evil was wrong the whole time, right? And maybe it's all of these people who said they were good, and they were lying.
You don't see many wild stallions anymore. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
So I want to call this new segment Pox and Friends. Or Friend. Pox and Friend. Although it's friends. The Pox is understood. Pox is like away. And I'm a friend. And then the guest is also a friend. So Pox and Friends. We are here with a very special guest, a fellow traveler in the dark path, Lucien Greaves of the Satanic Temple.
The Satanic Temple is not a group of devil worshippers, but liberal political activists who oppose the increasing influence of the religious right in American politics. Based out of Salem, Massachusetts, and led by their co-founder, Lucien Greaves.
How's your day been?
Not bad. It's October. Everything's really busy in Salem.
Oh man, where everybody like comes in and like decides like, they're gonna wear the pointy hats and all that stuff.
Yeah,
go on all the tours.
There's certainly well over the amount of people that the city can sustain with things to do.
Right. I think my favorite thing about like Salem and the whole witch craze is the fact that the entire point of the whole Salem deal was that there were no witches.
The witches seem to have more offspring than Genghis Khan. There's so many people walking around claim direct lineage from the witches of Salem that you get the impression that they must have been just spitting out kids.
Double, toil and trouble.
You founded the temple, right?
I co-founded it, yeah. And I act as the spokesperson also.
Lucien Greaves is co-founder of the Satanic Temple, which calls itself a religious organization that opposes tyrannical authority and sees Satan as a symbol of free inquiry and personal autonomy.
Does the Satanic Temple have a spiritual leader for the most part, or like a head of state in the same way that the Catholic Church has a pope kind of thing?
Well, no. I'm the most recognizable public face of the Satanic Temple, but in line with our kind of anti-authoritarian type of philosophy, we don't really venerate a figurehead other than the metaphorical Satan.
Right, of course, yeah. Who, metaphorically speaking, of course, right? There's no actual belief in Satan as some people might like to think.
Well, not as some conscious entity, but as a literary construct.
Right. Like as the adversary, so to speak.
Yeah. As kind of a icon for a set of values and lifestyle.
How would you distinguish yourself from like LaVeyan Satanism, wherein like he is, from what I understand, like the spiritual leader of the Church of Satan?
The Church of Satan likes to criticize the Satanic Temple, say it's not real Satanism, because real Satanism, as far as they see it, was codified by Anton LaVey, and they've really become rather fundamentalist. If LaVey didn't say it, it's not Satanism, and if it's not LaVey, it's not Satanism, to the point where it really has very little to do with Satan at all, and should just strictly be called LaVeyanism, really. And it's become rather fundamentalist and really kind of antithetical to any of those anti-authoritarian values or anti-traditionalist values that value evolution and free inquiry over simply rote dogmas, which is kind of what they're following when they follow the exact text of Anton LaVey. But LaVeyanism is really pro-authoritarian in a lot of ways. So kind of almost diametrically opposed to Satanism of the Satanic Temple.
You're either a real Satanist, a true Satanist, or not.
It was described once by LaVey himself as Ayn Rand with ceremonial trappings. So you have a very kind of, I don't know how you would characterize Rand. Terms like libertarian don't mean what they used to,
right.
Things like that. But
like extreme individualism or objectivism in that sense.
And to the point sometimes where it makes absolutely no sense. Individualism to the point of complete lack of nuance when it comes to questions of regulation or whether it's appropriate to be a participant in anything of any social value at all. The answer would be no. There's this whole idea of individualistic purity, which some connects to run absolutely counterproductive to in individual survival as well as group survival. But it doesn't matter once you become an ideologue of that type, a dogmatic ideologue. Any foolishness is not off the table.
Jane Mansfield was a starry-eyed romantic. She had a passion for love and a passion for heart-shaped objects.
So what's the mystery? I'm just a perfectly normal American girl.
I remember she used to be on the Jack Benny show playing the violin. She needed to be noticed. That was like a junkie needs drugs. She had to have publicity.
Anton liked publicity too. They were a perfect pair.
The founder and high priest of the First Church of Satan, Anton Szandor LaVey.
And in the 1960s, he's gaining a lot of notoriety.
So, stranger, do we have anything to talk about?
She's always liked that dark side of things.
Jane's big downfall was her addiction to attention.
I look like Jane Mansfield.
Her whole life became chaos and drug use and child neglect.
I talk like Jane Mansfield.
Women, I'm sure they had an affair, which it would be unnatural if they didn't.
If you're going to be a sinner, be the best sinner on the block. If you're going to do something that's naughty, do it.
Was she really a practicing Satanist? I can't picture her slaughtering goats.
Along comes Sam Brody.
Anton was not fond of Brody.
Sam Brody was cursed by Anton LaVey.
As a matter of fact, he said he would even die in a car accident.
The only people that I would cast a curse or a spell on would be people that would get under my skin.
You can write anything when someone's dead. You can write a whole book of lies, and there's nothing you can do.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
So it is done.
Well, I understand that he pulled a lot of his text from a book called Might is Right.
Yeah.
I think that you did something with that book, like some republication.
Yeah, like 20 years ago, yeah.
More than
I had illustrated an edition of Might is Right for a reprint that was done by the Church of Satan. And, it's just this social Darwinist rant. And it's a horrific book,
right?
But the
very popular amongst actual like white nationalists and fascists and things like that.
It's very popular amongst shitheads. And the thing that was nice about what LaVey had done with Might is Right was he took the rants about individualism and anti-religion from Might is Right, and the idea was that he discarded the stuff that was wrong, and he discarded the racialist dumb shit and things like that, and it actually pissed off like the neo-Nazi crowd because LaVey had Jewish roots. And, it was foolish of me to think at the time that people would understand that.
In your book, The Satanic Bible, you say, hate your enemies with a whole heart, and if a man smites you on one cheek, smash him on the other. Do you believe in this?
Yes, very much so. I think everyone does, except they cloak it in forms of false altruism or false morality. They feel that there's so much repressed aggression and repressed hostility that is never allowed to manifest itself because of teachings such as turn the other cheek.
The reprint of Might is Right was kind of a middle finger to the neo-Nazi crowd and shit like that, because they were really pissed off about the Satanists taking this and about LaVey and his Jewish origins having the gall to embrace any aspect of Might is Right. And at the time I thought there was truth to this social Darwinist ideal, that we're in competition with one another. We have to follow our individual will for the betterment, for the collective betterment, because it's like that whole idea of the free market, right?
Right, yeah. I feel like we all toy with that when we're in our early 20s.
Yeah. So, of course, there are people now who say I'm secretly a Nazi for having done that at all. And it was certainly something I wouldn't do now. And I feel like it wasn't in my best interests and obviously a foolish thing to get involved in. But also, it's not at all what they're saying it was.
Right,
you know,
right, yeah.
It certainly wasn't an attachment to neo-Nazi ideals or anything else at that time, but it was an attachment to LaVeyanism. And LaVeyanism, you know, has a lot of those elements which they do keep separated from racialism and those kinds of things, but that now I've grown to believe are also incorrect, you know. Right. And LaVeyanism does get a lot of pushback, and they do attract people who are, you know, go entirely that route and embrace all of what was in Might is Right, things like that. And the Satanic Temple came out of that understanding that this was wrong, and in my mind was viewed as a correction to modern Satanism's attachment to these improper theories that I feel have been disproven through time. And, you know, one of the more foolish ideas, I think, that I actually saw credibility in at that time was that altruism doesn't exist, but we're always acting in our own self-interest, even when we think we're being altruistic because it makes us, you know, feel good or whatever.
Right.
Now that just strikes me as so juvenile and stupid, because saying that, oh, well, you're only doing something because you want to, doesn't make it any less genuine. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you're not really sexually attracted to that person. You just, you know, have this biological impulse or whatever. It's like, well, isn't that what we're talking about? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, you're just kind of redefining what it is. But no, I think altruism does exist, and we do have to work collectively sometimes for our individual rights. But we want to work collectively in a way where we don't infringe on other people's individual rights. And I think that's the real difference now between the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan. You know, the Church of Satan will advocate for authoritarian politics. They say they're apolitical, but that's just as a way to excuse the fact that they're not involved actually in politics at all. But they preach politics. You know, they preach politics all the time. And they'll often advocate for an authoritarian state. And if you wonder, how can you do that if you're also preaching individualism? It's their own individualism they're talking about. They're talking about the power of the individual to lord over others, to act as an autocrat. So the idea is that everybody's striving to have that type of power or whatever, where I think we should all strive to treat everybody with individual dignity.
It's a beautiful day here at the state capitol. Great day to be a Satanist. I believe it, and I'm very excited about it. We're not what you think we are.
The Satanic Temple was an idea between a handful of people directly confronting authority.
This makes life fun.
State officials have put up a 10 Commandments monument on government property.
Satanists are demanding equal rights.
I am a tax-paying member of Arkansas, and I don't want that there.
They just want to irritate.
The Satanic Temple says you also need to put up our monument to Satanism.
As a Satanist, I believe that confronting injustice is an expression of one's satanic faith.
You see Christian theocracy just creeping itself into our government, and it is our duty to stand up to this.
We want people to evaluate the United States being a Christian nation. It's not. We are supposed to be a nation that doesn't allow the government to dictate what is appropriate religious expression.
Satanists sue Missouri.
If we're being sued by the Satanic Temple, we gotta be doing something right.
It's our goal to shut down their agenda, which is to bring death and destruction.
You guys are horrible people.
Is this how everyone that's different is treated?
It is out of not only Satanism, but patriotism that I am motivated.
Satanism is looking out for the other, because we are the other.
I am following a code of ethics, having fellowship with brethren. Why can't that be a religion?
We do indeed invoke Satan.
We have gone from 3 people to 50,000.
There's no doubt that this is my life's work.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Not bad.
So the thing that is exciting about the Satanic Temple, different than the Church of Satan, obviously, don't confuse the two, is that the Satanic Temple is into more political action, which I think is very important. I think it's important for them to go out there and clarify all of their positions and use what means they can to help increase liberty for us all. Because that's what they're doing, even if you don't want it. The issue is, obviously, Christians don't actually want religious liberty. Is that true? Yes, it's true. I challenge Christian liberals to come out for religious liberty. I challenge them to, because the only people that are really outspoken about this shit are the ultra-conservative, evangelical, theocratic Christians. And I'll tell you what the problem is. Like I know some liberal Christians who are leaders of their community, and they will say to me in private, "Oh yeah, Jesus was like this, and he cared about the poor, and this and that, and he seems a lot more to the left, just based on one of those little things called the Bible. He seems like he cares about people, and like the downtrodden, and he doesn't care about money, and but they'll never say that to their congregation because they'll lose their congregation." The misunderstanding of Satanism and its kind of attachment to Christianity and satanic panic and all that stuff. How do you go about correcting people's attitudes about that, so that you can actually get more people behind you, for more direct action like that, for more protests, and or at least know that you have I know that you have 300,000 members, right?
Over 500,000 now, I think.
Oh, now, okay. I was reading some old article.
It's growing quickly. It's been growing quickly over the past 10 years. And through those 10 years, we've always had people say, well, if it wasn't Satanism, you'd be getting so much more mileage or whatever. And it's like, really? I mean, look at how well this has gone. To be at 500,000 after 10 years for a startup religion, that's pretty much unheard of. And I think, for a lot of people, there's an instant recognition about what this means and what Satanism means in the context of our kind of cultural environment right now, when we see the progress of theocratic overthrow of Western civilization, which we're very much in the midst of. Whereas other people, they revert back to those satanic panic notions, and they have these, what I think are misguided notions of optics, and, people still think you eat babies and stuff like that. And it's like, in my mind, why wouldn't we strive to correct that? At the very least, if they don't like us, they should be forced to think that maybe different people can look at different mythologies and derive different lessons, or, better still, come to the realization that those claims from the satanic panic were bullshit all along.
Hey, thanks to Lucien Greaves for coming on the show and talking about the things that we talked about, which you just saw us talk about. And he'll be back next week to talk about more things that we didn't talk about, that you'll get to see us talk about.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast a circle and ask that there be a boundary between this world and the other to keep us protected and keep all the good energy inside and not allow any unauthorized energy to come in and bother us. Then I would call upon the powers I believe is starting in the East, because the East is new beginnings. So I would call the East in with all the power that it has to be able to clean the air, clean the energy, and make a safe passage for those on the other side to come in. I would go to the north, and I would ask for the strength of earth, that they open up and allow, again, safe passage. Then I would go to the west where the emotions are and the water, and I would ask that emotions be allowed to come through. And to the south with the fire, that the fire bring in the strength of love and the heat of love. And then I would call upon Hecate, and she had her three-headed dog with her. And I would ask her if she would please open the gates and allow our relatives, our ancestors, anybody who loved us and would like to pop in and say hi, that you would allow them to guide them, and that our own guides would help to protect us. It would help to guide our loved ones through to us for a quick hello. And if we don't get a message right now, that tonight when you go to bed and you dream, that your loved ones would come through to you, because right now the veil is thinning, and when it gets down to Samhain, it will be even a much thinner veil, and it will be easier for them to take that quick pop in and say hello. And then when I'm finished, I would thank Hecate for coming in and helping us with this. And I would thank the four directions for adding their strength and power. I would open my circle and I would say, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. And then I would stamp my feet, because that helps to ground down the energy.
Good night, everybody, and I hope next week does not suck as bad as this week did.
There's one magical, haunted evening each year when all the scary creatures come out to prowl through every neighborhood. But here's the scariest monster of all. Do you know why? This little witch doesn't know it, but she's taking some frightening chances of being hurt, maybe badly hurt. Her costume is very, very dangerous. Can you see the things that make it dangerous? What about that mask? She can hardly see through those tiny holes for her eyes. If you were wearing that mask, here's what it would be like. You can see straight in front of you, but unless you happen to turn your head, you wouldn't see that car coming as you start to cross the street. You could be run over.